Have you ever poured everything into someone, your time, your loyalty, your love, only to watch them walk away like it meant nothing? That gut-wrenching silence after they leave. The emptiness in your chest, the constant loop in your head asking, "What did I do wrong?" If that's you right now, then stop scrolling, because this isn't just another video on how to get your ex back. This is about reclaiming your identity, your dignity, your power. Most people think the way to make someone come back is to convince them, prove your worth, or stay in their orbit. But that approach is broken, and worse, it puts your soul on hold. The truth? If you want them to come back, to beg for another chance, the answer isn't out there in them. It's in here, in you. And that's the beauty of it. They won't just remember you, they'll regret losing you. The steps I'm about to share don't require manipulation, fake detachment, or toxic games. They demand inner clarity, self-evolution, and unshakable poise. It's the Stoic path, not of indifference, but of supreme self-control. This is where Stoicism meets desire, and where Stoic relationships are forged not through neediness, but through power. So ask yourself, what if the person who left came back, and this time, you were the one who had the final say? What if, by doing exactly what I'm about to show you, they couldn't help but return, changed, apologetic, desperate for the connection they once took for granted? And more importantly, what if by then, you had changed so much that you were no longer sure you even wanted them back? If that possibility stirs something in you, curiosity, fire, maybe even revenge dressed as growth, then stay with me. Because the steps we're about to walk through don't just change your relationship. They change you. And once you get this, once you live this, there is no going back to the old you. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how to make them come back, you'll understand why you no longer need them to. Let's begin. 1. Stop chasing, start reclaiming power. When they leave, the first instinct is to pursue. It feels like something precious is slipping through your fingers, and you scramble to grasp it before it's gone. But here's the hard truth wrapped in clarity. Chasing someone who chose to walk away doesn't win their heart back. It hands them more of your power. What if I told you that the very act of not chasing, of stepping back with poise, is what begins to shift the entire dynamic? Most people think if they don't text, call, or explain themselves, they'll be forgotten. That silence equals rejection. When did pleading make someone more desirable? You see, we confuse desperation with devotion, when in fact, they're worlds apart. To reclaim your power, you must first understand where you lost it. In the assumption that their presence is the prize, and your absence is a punishment. But the truth is inverted. When you retreat with confidence, you're not just leaving a void, they begin to feel the weight of what they walked away from. Have you noticed how people start valuing things only after they're no longer accessible? It's about actually stepping into a mindset where your self-worth is no longer hinged on their validation. Imagine for a second that the very love you were desperate to offer them, you turned inward. What kind of force would that create? What would happen if you stopped asking, "How do I get them back?" and started asking, "Who do I become now that they're gone?" Because Stoic relationships begin with sovereignty, not submission. This is not a tactic. It's a transformation. One rooted in the idea that you cannot chase and be respected at the same time. If they can forget you so easily, why should you keep remembering them with such intensity? If they move on quickly, what does that say about what you almost settled for? You have a chance to rebuild your reflection not based on who they wanted you to be, but who you're destined to become. Think of this moment like a psychological pivot point. You're standing at a crossroads between reaction and elevation. One road begs for their attention. The other walks silently toward your evolution. Which one do you choose? Because the one who stops chasing doesn't lose, they reset the entire narrative. This is the foundation of Stoicism, to act, not react. To remain calm, not because you don't care, but because you refuse to give your peace away. You've been taught that love must be proven, earned, fought for. But what if love is something that reveals itself only when you stop forcing it? What if the greatest proof of love is restraint? Walking away when staying would cost your self-respect. The moment you stop chasing, you begin reclaiming not just your time, but your identity. And identity is everything in Stoic relationships. It is the centerpiece of what makes you unshakable. There's power in restraint. It forces others to reconsider their actions, to wonder why the person they expected to wait is no longer standing there. In that space of confusion, something else grows: regret. And it's not your job to engineer their regret. It's your responsibility to engineer your evolution. That's the difference between reaction and strategy. So ask yourself, do you want their attention or your peace? Because you rarely get both. And in choosing peace, you signal to the world that your value is not negotiable. That's when people begin to feel your absence, not as emptiness, but as impact. They may come back. They may not. It's not reverse psychology. It's psychological freedom. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering response. You feel everything, but you are enslaved by nothing. 2. Transform pain into progress. Pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger. When someone leaves you, when love fades, or when betrayal shatters your sense of safety, the emotional storm that follows can feel unbearable. But let me ask you this: what if your heartbreak isn't a wound, but a window? What if the pain you feel is not the end, but the beginning? In Stoicism, we are taught not to fear discomfort, but to interrogate it. What is it here to teach you? Can you sit with the sting of rejection without becoming it? Can you feel the ache of loss and still move forward, eyes clear, heart open? They run from it. They numb it. They spiral into overthinking, blame, or bitterness. But not you. Not now. This is your crucible. Your trial by fire. And if you face this moment fully, without flinching, you'll emerge on the other side someone utterly unrecognizable, not weaker, but wiser. Not destroyed, but reborn. Pain becomes progress the moment you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it's revealing. Were you giving too much? Were your boundaries soft? Did you confuse their comfort with your purpose? These questions hurt, but they lead somewhere powerful. They lead you to responsibility. And responsibility is not about fault, it's about power. You can't control what they did, but you can control how you respond. You can control how you rebuild. Picture this: instead of lying in bed replaying conversations, you're in the gym rebuilding strength. Instead of rereading old messages, you're journaling your lessons. Instead of stalking their life, you're designing your own. These aren't distractions, they're rituals. Acts of self-devotion. Every action you take toward your own healing is a message to the universe. I will not be broken. I will be better. And they will see that. They might not say anything at first, but they'll notice. People always notice when someone they took for granted starts glowing in their absence. It creates a haunting question in their minds. Did I underestimate them? And the answer will be yes. Because when you use pain as fuel, you will not resurrect your past self, you will evolve. That evolution will show up in how you speak, how you walk into a room, how you hold silence without fear. It will show up in your eyes. No longer searching for validation, but radiating self-assurance. And that presence will be magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you stopped trying altogether. You simply became. The heartbreak that once shattered you becomes the hammer that sculpts you. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You need discipline, the quiet, relentless commitment to rise daily, regardless of who applauds or returns. That is the path of Stoicism. That is how pain turns to progress. You might ask, but how long will this take? The answer isn't in time, it's in transformation. When you begin to act like the healed version of yourself, before you feel fully healed, something magical happens. Your mind starts to believe it. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your thoughts rewire. And your entire identity follows. That's not delusion, it's design. It's the philosophy of becoming before believing. A core tenet of emotional mastery. When you treat your pain as proof of your potential, you begin to embody a new kind of energy, an energy that attracts better. You don't have to wait to feel whole. You start acting whole. And slowly, the wholeness catches up. That's when the people who left start to reappear. They see the glow. They hear your name in rooms they're not in. They feel the echo of your energy long after your presence is gone. And it confuses them, maybe even shakes them. But by then, something even more powerful has happened. You no longer care if they come back. Because your life, your mission, your path, none of it revolves around being chosen anymore. You chose yourself. Fully. Fiercely. And that choice rewrites everything. So if you're in the fire right now, don't run. Stand tall. Let the flames refine you. Let it spark the inner revolution that turns heartbreak into transformation. Because when you do this, when you make progress from pain, you become undeniable. And if they ever come back, that is what this journey is about. Not about waiting for someone to return, but about becoming someone who doesn't need them to. You've walked through the storm. You've faced the mirror. And now you rise not for them, but for you. If that resonates with you, if you're feeling that fire building inside right now, do me a favor, like this video and comment, number 1, if this message is speaking directly to you. And if you want to keep rising with us, hit that subscribe button and become part of this growing community of warriors committed to mastering pain, embracing stoicism, and building unbreakable, stoic relationships from the ashes of loss. 3. Silence is strategy, not weakness. Silence. It's the most misunderstood force in relationships, often mistaken for surrender, for coldness, or even for defeat. But if you've ever studied those who move with quiet power, you know better. In the world of stoicism, silence isn't emptiness, it's presence, refined. It's not the absence of emotion but the mastery of response. When someone leaves, our natural impulse is to speak, to explain, to correct the record, to defend ourselves. It's an urge born from fear of being misunderstood, of being forgotten, of letting them write the final chapter. But what if the real power lies not in more words, but in fewer? What if saying nothing, doing nothing, and reaching for nothing is the most strategic move you can make? In the aftermath of separation, silence feels unbearable because it leaves space. And space is where doubt, guilt, and reflection grow. When you remove your voice from their daily noise, it doesn't mean your impact disappears. Quite the opposite, it becomes more potent. Imagine the person who once had instant access to you now sitting in silence, wondering why you haven't reached out. They scroll, but see nothing. They expect a message, but none comes. They remember how available you used to be, how quickly you used to respond, how desperate you once sounded. And now? Nothing. That silence becomes louder than any speech. It becomes a mirror they can't turn away from. The mind craves closure, and when you go silent, you don't give them that. They're left with their own echoes, their own decisions replaying like whispers in the dark. That's when the narrative shifts. In Stoic relationships, this isn't about ghosting or manipulation, it's about reclaiming your energy. It's choosing stillness over spectacle. The person who doesn't need to announce their growth is often the one who grows the most. And let me be clear, this kind of silence is not passive. It's active. It's you saying, I refuse to fight for a place in someone's life when I'm not being invited with respect. It's discipline over desperation. It's strategy over chaos. The silence becomes sacred. It's the space where you realign with your values, where you stop reacting and start observing. You begin to see things you missed when your mind was clouded with emotion. You notice red flags, patterns, and the small betrayals you once ignored. And more importantly, you begin to notice yourself again, the parts of you that were lost while trying to keep them. In Stoicism, we understand that what we don't say often defines us more than what we do. Words can be weapons or shields, but silence is armor. It protects your dignity, your mystery. And questions haunt the mind far more than answers ever could. Think of the times someone went quiet on you, how it unsettled you, how your mind filled the silence with stories, theories, and what-ifs. That's the psychological weight of absence. You don't have to say, "I've changed." They'll feel it. You don't have to declare, "I've moved on." Your silence says it all. But here's the deeper level. Silence isn't just about them, it's about you. It's about healing without performance. It's about growth without announcement. In a world that rewards oversharing and quick responses. Not because you manipulated them, but because you stopped giving them free access to your light. You made them earn it. And the moment someone realizes they no longer have the emotional power they once held over you, they begin to question everything. Did I mess up? Were they the one? How did I not see this before? That internal chaos is the result of your external calm. That is how silence becomes a strategy. It's not revenge, it's reflection. Not punishment, but positioning. And when you operate from this place, you become untouchable, not because you've closed your heart, but because you've closed the door to anything that doesn't honor it. Silence allows the dust to settle. It allows you to hear your own thoughts without their noise. It gives you the space to rediscover your standards, to sharpen your boundaries. This is why Stoicism teaches that the strongest person in the room is not the loudest, it's the one who doesn't flinch when others try to provoke a response. Silence helps you observe more clearly. It reveals who checks in when you're no longer available, who respects your space, and who notices your absence not as a tactic, but as a transformation. And in that awareness, you reclaim your power. You step out of the emotional tug-of-war. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And you start showing up for the one person who needs your presence the most, you. So remember this, your silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's not running away, it's rising above. You're not giving up the fight, you're just choosing not to fight for what no longer serves you. And the beauty of it all? When they finally reach out, when the regret hits. When they ask why you went so quiet, you won't need to say a word. Your growth will speak for itself. 4. Level up in public. Heal in private. You've gone silent. You've stopped chasing. You've started to transform your pain into strength. But now comes the phase that truly sets you apart, the level up. This is where you become undeniable. Not through performance, not through proving anything to anyone, but by quietly evolving until the version of you they remember is unrecognizable next to the version of you they now see. The biggest mistake people make after heartbreak is trying to flex too soon, posting, showing off, pretending they're happy just to provoke a reaction. But that's not growth. That's insecurity wearing a mask. True growth, the kind that turns heads and stirs regret, is almost never loud. It's subtle. It's consistent. It's deeply personal. And the Stoic path is clear. Level up in public, heal in private. Let them see the glow but never the grind. Let them notice the calm in your presence, not the chaos you conquered. There's a sacred power in refusing to perform your healing for others. You don't need to prove you're over them. You need to become so focused on your own evolution that the need for validation dissolves. Think of your healing as a temple. You don't build temples in public squares. Creating, meditating, journaling, listening to what your spirit truly needs, not what your ego wants to broadcast. And yes, people will notice. That's the beauty of Stoic relationships. You don't have to chase attention, you attract it by who you become. They'll see the discipline in your routine. They'll notice the way you speak, measured, grounded, no longer reactive. They'll sense the shift in your energy, centered, intentional, no longer thirsty for approval. You begin to glow in a way that doesn't require filters. You become interesting again, not because of what you say, but because of what you don't. And slowly, the very person who once thought they knew you starts to doubt what they believed. Were they always this strong? Did I miss something? How are they doing better without me? Those questions aren't about revenge. They're about reclaiming your narrative. And the truth is, that means your level up isn't driven by a desire to be seen, but by a refusal to stay small. You've tasted pain. You've stared into the abyss. And now you rise not because anyone's watching, but because you remember who you are. And when you remember who you are, the world begins to adjust its perception of you. You become a force. That's what happens when you heal privately. Your energy shifts. Your boundaries become sharper. Your time becomes sacred. Your presence becomes a privilege, not a default. And suddenly, they start watching. Quietly. Hoping. Wondering if there's still a path back. But you're not doing this for them. You're not posting stories to get their attention. You're building a story so strong they have no choice but to pay attention. Because here's the secret. People remember consistency. They remember strength. They remember those who stayed focused. Who didn't break down online. Who didn't chase closure through comments or indirect messages. And when your name comes up in rooms they're not in, they hear things like, "They've been thriving. They've really changed. They're glowing differently." That's the reward of leveling up in public with humility and healing in private with discipline. It's not about ego. It's about essence. And when your essence changes, your world changes. Your standards rise. Your expectations evolve. You begin to see that the relationship you thought you wanted doesn't even match the person you're becoming. That's when the shift becomes permanent. You stop craving what once broke you. You stop fantasizing about someone who wouldn't survive in the atmosphere you're now creating. And it's not bitterness, it's clarity. You're no longer stuck in the cycle of proving your worth. You've embodied it. You live it. Every day. In every decision. In every boundary you protect and every habit you commit to. This is the level up. It's not just physical. It's not just success. It's a deep, spiritual recalibration. You become emotionally self-sufficient. You become intellectually curious. You become energetically sovereign. And that, my friend, is magnetic. That's how you become unforgettable, not because you chase them, but because you chase purpose. Because you stopped trying to make someone see your value and started building a life that reflects it. And those who left, they'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll regret ever thinking they could walk away and find something better. Because what you're becoming? It's rare. It's refined. It's real. And it doesn't chase, it attracts. If this message lit something up in you, if you're feeling that quiet fire building and you know you're ready to rise in a way that no one can ignore, then like this video and comment, number 1, to let me know you're on this journey too. And if you're serious about becoming someone unforgettable, someone who lives by the power of stoicism and builds stoic relationships from strength, then hit that subscribe button and walk this path with us. Your future self is already watching, waiting to meet you. Let's rise. 5. Set new standards, and stick to them. Once you've stopped chasing, turned your pain into progress, embraced silence as your strategy, and begun to level up in public while healing in private, the next phase of your transformation becomes both the most empowering and the most demanding, setting new standards, and more importantly, holding them. This isn't about becoming rigid or bitter. It's about becoming clear. Because one of the main reasons you lost yourself in that past relationship, or were treated as replaceable, was likely because your standards were either unclear, too low, or inconsistently enforced. And let's be honest, most of us don't even realize our standards are slipping until it's too late. We let things slide. We rationalize red flags. We silence our needs just to keep the peace. But peace bought with self-abandonment is not peace, it's a slow erosion of self-worth. And Stoicism teaches us that living with virtue means living with unwavering principles. Standards are not rules you impose on others, they're reflections of how deeply you respect yourself. They are the invisible boundaries that define what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you walk away from without looking back. Think about it. When was the last time you compromised on something important just to be liked, loved, or kept around? And where did that lead you? The person who sets no standards will always live in a world defined by someone else's whims. But the moment you decide, truly decide, that your energy is sacred, that your time is limited, and that your love is not a bargaining chip, you change the terrain of every relationship you're in. You stop attracting people who want to consume you and start aligning with people who respect you. This is how Stoic relationships are built, not on emotional turbulence, but on clarity, consistency, and character. And this new version of you that's emerging, forged by silence and growth, needs a new set of standards to protect that evolution. Standards around communication. Do you accept silence after conflict? Or do you now require emotional maturity? Standards around time. Do you still allow last-minute plans? Or do you now prioritize those who prioritize you? Standards around respect. Do you let words slide because you fear confrontation? Or do you now speak up, even when your voice trembles? These aren't just hypotheticals. They are decisions that shape the rest of your life. Because every time you enforce a standard, setting new standards feels good. Sticking to them? That's where most people fold. Because the moment you raise the bar, life and people will test it. And this is where Stoicism becomes your ally. It teaches you not to react emotionally in the face of temptation. It teaches you to pause, breathe, reflect. Does this align with the new me? Will this strengthen my future or sabotage my growth? Am I honoring my evolution or reverting to old patterns? These questions anchor you when your emotions try to lead you astray. Because emotional impulses will come. You're human. You'll feel lonely. You'll crave connection. You'll remember the good times. But Stoicism reminds us, feelings are not facts. And impulses are not instructions. You can feel the nostalgia and still not return. You can miss them and still not reply. You can want connection and still wait for one that honors you fully. And from that place, you begin to attract differently. Not because you're chasing love, but because you are love, contained, secure, and unwilling to settle. Daily. And the more you live it, the less you'll be tempted by things that insult it. You'll begin to walk with a presence that says, I know who I am. But don't get it twisted, this isn't about perfection. You will stumble. You will be tempted to compromise. You will have moments where you wonder if you're asking for too much. But in those moments, that memory is not to make you bitter, it's to make you better. To remind you that your standards are not punishments. They're protection. Not walls, but gates. Gates that open for those who approach with respect, intention, and alignment. So be fierce in what you require, but be soft in your heart. Stay open, but stay anchored. And never, ever forget. The standard you set is the story you tell the world about what you believe you deserve. Make that story powerful. Make it worthy. Make it true. 6. Be willing to walk away for good. There comes a point in this journey, not just of healing, but of reclaiming your identity, where the final and most powerful decision must be made. It is the decision that will define not just whether they come back, but whether you even care if they do. It's the decision to walk away. Not just physically, but energetically, spiritually, emotionally, fully and permanently. This isn't about bitterness. It's not about revenge. It's not about making some dramatic exit to provoke a reaction. This is about mastering yourself so completely that you no longer entertain anything that costs your peace, your growth, your future. You have to be willing to walk away from the idea of what could have been, from the illusion of potential, from the fantasy you held onto when reality showed you otherwise. Because until you're ready to close the door, truly close it, you'll always leave space for confusion to creep in, for weakness to grow, for the past to disguise itself as something worth revisiting. But in Stoicism, we understand that freedom doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from letting go of what controls you. And sometimes, The very thing controlling you is the hope that they'll come back, that they'll change, that one day they'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth. If someone couldn't value you when they had you, it's not your job to wait around until they grow up enough to appreciate what they lost. You were never meant to be someone's wake-up call. You were meant to be someone's choice. And if they couldn't see it then, that tells you everything you need to know. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't love deeply. You've seen too much now. You've changed too much. You've become someone who would never settle for the version of love you once accepted. That's not pride, it's evolution. It's clarity. It's power. In Stoic relationships, the most magnetic quality you can develop is detachment, not apathy, but the emotional maturity to say, I want this, but I don't need it. I'm open to love, but I'm not desperate for it. I'm whole, with or without you. That level of energy is rare. It's the energy of someone who has been through the fire and came out forged, not burned. Someone who doesn't flinch when people leave, because they know what stays is what's meant to stay. And if something walks away from you, you let it. You don't chase. You don't plead. You don't negotiate your self-respect just to keep someone who's undecided. You release them with grace and focus on your path. Because your life is not a holding pattern. You're aligning with people, places, and possibilities that elevate your spirit instead of draining it. And as you rise, something miraculous happens. The memory of what you once wanted starts to dissolve. The longing fades. Not because you forced it, but because you evolved past the version of you that needed it. But without regret. And from that burial, something unshakable is born, the you that no longer begs to be chosen. The you that knows walking away isn't losing, it's choosing. Choosing peace over chaos. Choosing dignity over drama. Choosing your future over your past. That choice is where real transformation happens. And yes, it might scare you. The finality of it. The silence that comes after. The unfamiliar freedom of no longer obsessing over someone who couldn't see your light. But what if that silence isn't emptiness? What if it's space? Space for healing. For becoming. For something new and better and wildly more aligned to take root. Because when you fully walk away, you create room for new love, yes, but more importantly for self-trust. For self-respect. You'll pause and ask, do I even want what I once cried over? Do they align with the new standards I live by? Do they meet me with respect and reciprocity? An elevation requires discernment. You don't just rise, you stay risen. You protect what you've built. You honor what you've become. And that means you don't let the past sneak back in wearing a new costume. If someone truly deserves a second chance, they'll meet your standards without you lowering them. They'll speak your new language, of honesty, of consistency, of presence. And if they can't, you walk. Again. Always. That's your superpower now. The willingness to walk. Not to threaten. Not to manipulate. But to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. So ask yourself, what would it look like to truly close this chapter? To walk with no resentment, no expectation, no fear? And power is what makes people remember you, not the text you sent, not the tears you shed, but the way you rose. The way you said, I choose me. So if this part of the journey resonated with you, if you're ready to finally let go, rise up. Subscribe to this channel and join a community of warriors committed to building unbreakable, stoic relationships, not through fear or need, but through freedom, clarity, and the strength to walk away for good. So now we arrive at the stillness after the storm, the space where everything begins to settle. Not because you've forced the world to change, but because you have changed so completely that the world is now responding to a different energy. You've journeyed through the deepest trenches of heartbreak and loss. You've walked the path of restraint, discipline, and silent growth. And somewhere along the way, without realizing it, you stopped asking, will they come back? And started asking. What you've discovered is far more valuable than their return, you've discovered yourself. You've awakened to the quiet strength that was buried beneath your longing. You've unearthed the ability to love without losing your balance, to care deeply without collapsing, to give fully without forgetting your own name. And that is the rarest kind of power. True power is not loud. It doesn't seek revenge or recognition. It doesn't need to be proven. It simply exists. It holds. It waits. It walks away when respect is not mutual. And when it returns only to what is worthy. That's the kind of person you are now. You've built new habits, redefined your boundaries, sharpened your awareness. You've replaced neediness with clarity, reactivity with poise, and fear with a quiet but resolute confidence. This is not performance, it's principle. You didn't just pretend to be strong. You became strong. You didn't fake indifference. You learned to love without attachment. And all of this has aligned you with a new way of relating, a new way of being. This is where Stoicism intersects with the soul, not as cold detachment. It's about building a heart so rooted in self-respect that nothing can shake it. In a world obsessed with attention and validation, you've chosen the rare path of inner alignment. You've stopped broadcasting your value and started embodying it. And the irony is, this is what makes you unforgettable. This is what makes them regret. This is what draws them back. But now you see it clearly. Their return was never the goal. It was just a byproduct. A side effect of you becoming the person you were always meant to be. And if they come back, focused version of me? And if the answer is no, you'll let them go again, easily. Not out of spite, but out of self-trust. That's the culmination of all the work. Not getting them back, but getting yourself back. Fully. Fiercely. Finally. And now, as you move forward, you no longer walk with hope in your hands, hoping someone else will see a light. You walk with purpose in your spine, knowing your light needs no approval. You are enough, not because someone says so, but because you have proven it to yourself, day after day, choice after choice. And when others see that, when they feel that calm, unshakable essence, they will wonder how they ever let you go. But that's no longer your burden to carry. You're free. Free from the cycles. Free from the proving. Free from the weight of needing anything outside of yourself to feel whole. And in that freedom, a new life opens. A life where love is chosen, not chased. Where peace is prioritized, not postponed. Where your story is no longer about recovery, but about revelation. You are the revelation. But a compass that leads you out of emotional chaos into emotional command. And from here, anything is possible. Not because it's promised, but because you are prepared. You are no longer waiting for permission to rise. You are rising. Quietly. Steadily. Unstoppably. And whether they ever come back or not, you've already won. Because you remembered what the world tried to make you forget, that you are worthy of a love that never asked you to abandon yourself to earn it. You are worthy of a peace that does not require you to shrink. You are worthy of a life that mirrors your depth. And now, finally, you live that truth.